Today, on this very hot day, I'm just going to take stock of where we are in the world. Now, we're all painfully aware of the atrocity that took place in the USA, where a black man was killed by a white police officer, and this has led to worldwide protests. A couple of things, though. For me, I understand the anger and the need to protest, but when that spills over into looting, you've sort of lost me. Because if your anger converts to, I'd best go and steal a television, I'd question what your motives were in the first place. But more importantly, I am fully behind the idea that the police should not be able to murder people as they see fit. So what's gone on in the UK in the last couple of weeks? Well, the weekend before last, there were protests which were mostly peaceful. In Bristol, however, something odd happened when a statue of a prominent slave owner was pulled down and thrown into Bristol Harbour. Now, my thoughts on this are actually a bit mixed. There had been a petition to get rid of this statue, or more than one. But for me, just tearing it down and throwing it away doesn't erase history. It doesn't take away the terrible things this man did. And more importantly, he's still fucking dead. Now, I don't know what should happen, whether these statues should go into museums or have a plaque put up in front of them or whatever. But I remember Saddam Hussein's statue being pulled down, that moment of history. Well, this event was nothing like that. It was mainly just infantile white people dancing around screaming like children. Like I said, I don't have the answer, but I don't think that was it. And this event has led to last weekend in Tamworth, near where I live, the council had to board up a statue after protesters contacted them to say that's coming down. However, the statue in question wasn't of a slaver. It was actually a politician who dedicated his entire political career to the abolition of slavery. If you're going to do vandalism, get your fucking facts right. But down in London, things have been a bit more violent. The weekend before last, there were some scuffles with the police. And also, someone took it upon themselves to deface the statue of Sir Winston Churchill. Now, let's not pretend that hasn't happened before. That statue is always a target. But it meant that the weekend that's just gone, a group of far-right drunken Nazi dickheads were defending the statue of Sir Winston Churchill whilst giving Nazi salutes and not seeing the fucking irony. Now, the graffiti read, Churchill was a racist. And that's true, he was. But the problem is, try and find someone from history who fucking wasn't. For me, that statue is there because he was the Prime Minister during the Second World War. But he did divert food away from Indians, meaning that 3 million people died of starvation. And I believe he also said they breed like rabbits. That is despicable. But his adversary was Adolf Hitler. And the Nazis didn't just starve people to death, they industrialised murder. Now, no one is 100% good or bad. I mean, Hitler liked his dog just before he shot it. But if we take a couple of other figures from history, Gandhi, a wonderful, peaceful man. But what is not known about him commonly is his ideology in the beginning was that Indians were racially superior and were descended from people known as the Aryans. Gandhi was thinking like Hitler. Nelson Mandela, widely regarded, and rightly so, as one of the greatest ever world leaders. At one time, he was a violent terrorist. Nothing is ever clean cut. Now, something that's making me sick at the moment as well is the way that companies are trying to cash in on the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And it must be confusing because it's also June, so it's Pride Month. So usually they're just plastering rainbows over every fucking thing. And what I don't like about this is the virtue signalling of it. Because when I go to buy a sandwich, I don't want to find that because they can't decide whether it's Black Lives Matter or Pride is more important, the Chinese company Wish just put both on it. But say, if I go and buy a sandwich, I don't need a rainbow flag on it. Now, I am a big supporter of gay rights and racial equality, but I'm not going to walk down the road with my BLT crying loudly, look at me, I support equality, and anyone that does, frankly, is an attention-seeking cunt. Then we have TV companies trying to out-woke each other. Did you see that Gone with the Wind has been pulled from some streaming services? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. That film is 80 years old and is set in the Deep South in the events leading up to and including the American Civil War. I believe slavery was quite prominent It was actually one of the sticking points of the entire conflict. Sorry, I'm sweating. Then today on the radio, driving in, I heard a discussion on whether To Kill a Mockingbird should be removed from libraries and bookshops because it contains racist language. It's an American novel published in 1960. I'd be fucking shocked if it didn't contain any. But for some people, this still won't be enough. Online, I've seen people saying we need to get rid of anything that's been associated with slavery. Well, sorry, there'd be nothing left. The history of the human race is fucking terrible. Most of it is built on the pain and misery of other people. So cotton, that'd have to go. So clothing's gone. Next, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket went up to the ISS? Sorry, the space rocket program was built on the back of the ballistic missile program. And the first ever ballistic missile was the V2 Vengeance weapon built by the Nazis using slave labour. So that means if your car's got GPS or you have satellite television, you're a fucking racist! So also, most of Egypt, that's got to go. Great Wall of China, fuck it off. Rome bulldozed a lot of it, but not only Rome. Here in Britain, we've got Roman roads. Their roads were so good, we still use them. So how do we give directions now? If someone says, how do I get here or there? Well, you turn left in about half a mile and there's a straight road. And if you go down it, you're a fucking genocidal maniac. And what's happened? I've gone way off topic. I'm not talking about police brutality. I'm talking about everything else. And you know who's going to love that? Because this is what's being stirred up by the media. The far right will fucking lap it up. Because they will say, see, this isn't about police brutality. It's about people wanting to change our entire way of life. If you don't like it, fuck off somewhere else. Now, I think we need to learn from the past, but we don't need to live in it. If we don't observe the past, we will repeat the mistakes. But just to be clear, and sorry if I sound a bit far right here, any black person living in the UK today has not been a slave. No white person has been a slave trader. We need to understand the past, but not live in it. Because if we do, in 3 years' time, we'll fucking be here again. I promise the next video will be more upbeat.